Let's go and see an amazing WILDHOOD show.
Welcome to WILDHOOD Festival. We're here in the splendid grounds of Tulliball Castle, and I would like to share a couple of stories with you. Would you like to hear a story? That was a yes, wasn't it? Our first story doesn't come from a rainy Scottish summer. It comes from far, far away in a distant part of the world. Our first story comes from the east of Africa. And this story comes from a long, long time ago. In this part of the world, they don't have 4 seasons like we have. They have the rainy season, where the rain falls and the rivers flow and life comes to the land. And they have the hot, dry season, where the animals need to find shelter from the hot, hot sun. And then the rains come back, and then the sun comes out. And then the rains come back, and the sun comes out. And the rains come back, and the sun comes out. And you know, one time, those rains didn't come back. I know what you're thinking. If you're also living in Scotland, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing. But here, very soon the rivers became tiny little streams. Those streams were reduced to the tiniest trickle of water, and the animals, they became thirsty. The water that usually flowed out through the land and gave life to all the trees and the plants and the fruits, it stopped flowing. The trees became shriveled and brown and broken. The animals became hungry. And with the animals hungry, with the animals thirsty, with no rain, no water in the whole land, this was a serious situation. All of the animals, near and far, big and small, were called together in a great council. Now, which kind of animals do you think were there? Which animals came? First of all, there was the elephant, swinging her trunk. Then the lion came prowling, the monkey swung from tree to tree, the zebra rode in elegantly, the rabbit hopped along, and the tortoise slowly but surely arrived. And all the animals gathered together. They said, "What can we do? There's nothing to eat, there's nothing to drink, the rains won't fall. What can we do?" And there was furrowing of brows, there was scratching of hairy chins, and no one seemed to know what to do. Until one old rabbit hopped forward and spoke. "I remember a story my grandmother used to tell me about a magical tree that grows in the middle of the forest. And this tree, even when nothing else will give fruit, this tree will give you any sort of fruit you wish for. It's a magical tree." Well, what do you think? Does that sound like a good idea? The animals thought so, and off they went. The elephant, the lion, the monkeys, they stomped into the woods and they said, "Is that the tree? Is that the tree?" "Nope." "Is that the tree?" "Nope." Every tree they tried to spot, but they couldn't find this magical tree until they got deep into the middle of the rainforest. And there, deeper further than any of the animals had gone before, was a great, huge, gnarled old tree. None of them recognized it. This surely was the magical tree, but when they looked at it, there was no fruit hanging from its branches. "Rabbit, what's going on here?" My grandmother said you need to ask the tree for fruit." So each of them thought of their favourite fruit. Have you got a favourite fruit? Do you know what you would wish for? I think I'm going to wish for mangoes. And each of the animals gathered round, and 1, 2, 3, they said, "Mangoes, please! Bananas, please! Apples, please!" And each of them called their favourite fruit. They waited with anticipation, and nothing happened. They tried again. "Maybe you can help me back at home. In the count of 3, call for your favourite fruit." 1, 2, 3. "Mangoes, please! Plums, please! Apples, please!" Nothing happened. "Rabbit, what is going on here?" "I remember. My grandmother said you had to speak the name of the magical tree or else it didn't know who you were speaking to." "Well, what's the name of this magical tree?" And the rabbit had forgotten. What are we going to do? How are we going to get our fruit from this tree? Well, each of the animals discussed again, and they thought maybe If none of the animals knew, maybe a being much older than any animal who walked on the whole of the earth might know. Someone will have to go to the great mountain. Ask the mountain the name of the tree, and then we can all have food. Well, who went? Stepping forward was the lion. He let out a roar. Roar! I will go, I am the king of the animals. I will go to the mountain, I will save all of you, but when I come back, I will get the first taste of the fruit. Is it agreed? And the animal said, yeah, fair enough, lion. Whatever floats your boat. And off he went. He prowled through the jungle. He prowled across the savannah. He prowled his way all the way to the great mountain. And he came to the great mountain and said, Great mountain, will you tell me the name of the magical tree that grows in the middle of the forest? And the mountain rumbled, the earth shook, and in a deep, thunderous voice the lion heard, Awongalema. Awongalema. Well, the lion turned. He prowled his way across the grassland, so proud of himself. He thought, I really am the most splendid lion that has ever walked the face of this continent. I'm going to go down in history and folklore. They'll be telling stories about me. They'll probably make a statue of me on the edge of the forest. And he was so proud of himself. When he came to a great big red rock in the middle of the savannah, he leapt on top and he roared. Roar! And he roared. Roar! And he roared. Roar! And you know, he roared the name of that tree right out of his head. He wasn't feeling quite so bold, quite so proud as he made his way back to the forest. And the animal said, Lion, 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 did you get the name of the tree? And he said, yes, but I forgot it. And they said, Lion, we're starving. We're so thirsty. We need someone to go who won't forget. And they thought, which animal has a very good memory? Well, they looked around and they saw, maybe you've guessed it, elephant. They looked at elephant's big head. They thought, in that big head, you must have a big brain. Elephant, won't you go and get the name of the tree? And elephant said, I'm not going. They said, elephant, go for it. Come on, go. You've got the best memory. Why should I go? I'm tired and hungry like the rest of you. But each of the animals pleaded. They brought their little paws together, their little lips quivered, puppy dog eyes, and they pleaded with the elephant till she said, very well. And she stomped her way. She stomped her way, swinging her trunk through the forest. All the way she stomped across the grassland until she came to the great mountain. She asked the name of the tree, and the mountain rumbled in its thunderous voice. Do you remember what the tree was called? Awongalema. And with the name of the tree, elephant turned and she trundled back across the savannah. Now, by this point, she was really tired. Her feet were aching, her back was blistered and burnt, her trunk hurt. When she got to this big red rock and she saw the shade coming from the rock, she lay down behind the rock in the shade and she slept, a well-earned rest. And she snored, and she snored, and she snored, and she snored. And she snored the name of that tree right out of her head. When she got back to the forest, when the animals realized even she had forgotten, they were despondent, they were distraught. How will we ever get food? How will we survive? And they started turning on each other. Cheetah, you should go, you're quick. Monkeys, you're clever, you could go. No one wanted to go. It was so far away. They were so hungry, so tired. And they were squabbling, arguing when one little voice piped up. I will go. Who said that? Me. I will go. They looked down. Tortoise. They thought, Tortoise, you can't go. We'll have starved to death by the time you come back. You're too small. You're too slow. No, Cheetah, you're the quickest. On you go. And the animals went back to arguing. And Tortoise, slowly but surely, made her way. She trundled her way out of the forest. She made her way slowly across the savannah all the way to the great mountain. She said, Great mountain, will you tell me the name of the magical tree that grows in the middle of the forest? And the mountain rumbled in his thunderous voice said, "Awongalema." "Awongalema, is that right?" And the mountain said, "Yes." And Tortoise turned and she made her way across the savannah. Now, she wasn't thinking of a great statue of a tortoise. She wasn't thinking of how great she was. She wasn't thinking how her shell hurt and her feet were sore. All she thought was, "Awongalema, Awongalema, Awongalema." And as she got back to the forest and the animals were still gathered round arguing, she walked past them all and went straight up to that tree and said, "Awongalema, can we have some fruit, please?" And the earth shook. The branches on the tree trembled. On the end of each of those branches came buds, and those buds turned into flowers, and by each of those flowers grew fruits. Fruits of every kind, ones that we have tasted and ones that we could barely imagine. They grew juicy and ripe on the end of the tree's branches, and as they became ripe, they fell to the ground. Do you think the animals remembered their table manners? Not a chance. The animals pounced, they feasted, they gorged themselves on these fruits till the juices were dripping down their hairy chin and their bellies were full. And after they'd eaten all they could, they had a nap. A great big sleep in the middle of the forest. And when they awoke, and when they'd fully eaten, when they'd rested, then they danced. They were dancing. The monkey was swinging from tree to tree. Lion was leaping. Elephant was swinging her trunk. And you know, it may have been they danced so hard that the world shook. Or it may have just been coincidence. But just then, the pitter-patter of rain fell from the sky. And as the rains fell and the rains fell, again the rivers flowed. And you know, as far as I know, more or less since that time, the rainy season has followed the dry season just like it should. And what's more, no one has ever been heard to say that Tortoise was too small or too slow ever again. So thank you for listening to my story.
Let's go and see an amazing wildhood show. Let's go